Hi everyone, it's Kerry back with you today. So I thought we'd do another quickie with Kerry today, and what we're going to create is this cute little folio with a couple of pockets and then some journaling cards to go in it. Now to create this I have chosen to use from the Dragonfly paper set one page in the horizontal or landscape orientation and then one in the profile or the vertical page orientation. Now I've printed mine on A4 papers. If you're using a different size paper, you may need to adjust your measurements to suit your papers. So we'll start with the folio. I'll just take these journaling cards out. So the folio I have created from the landscape page, and it's really very simple. I'm going to bring my scoreboard in to help me with this first part. So I'm lining up my paper on my scoreboard, and I'm going to score this at 4 centimetres, or it's approximately 1.5 inches, but like I mentioned, you may need to adjust your measurements to suit the paper that you've printed on. And you can use any paper to make this project. You just need it to be in the correct orientation. Okay, so I've got my page scored, and I'm just going to fold those in. So I want my folio to have some decoration on the inside, but I don't want to add any extra paper to it, because once you've got this page, if you add another page and then you put things in the pocket, the folio gets quite thick. And if you want to slip this inside a pocket in a journal, I want it to remain as, light as possible. So to create some decoration on the back of my panel here, I'm going to be using some distress ink. And I've picked colours that I think match my papers quite well. So I'm using Distress Oxide Salty Ocean, and I've also got Speckled Egg, and I might also use a bit of Bundled Sage. So I think those three colours work quite well here. So to begin adding some colour onto my base here, I'm going to be using these two lighter colours first, Speckled Egg and Bundled Sage. I'm just coming in with my stencil brush. Now I know that my ink pad is quite juicy, so I'm just going to use a piece of scrap on the side, just so that when I first load up my brush I can lightly wipe off the most heaviest ink first. So I'm just getting a little bit of colour all over there. So I'll come in with some of my other colour now. And I'm just sort of going in the places where I didn't put the Bundled Sage. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit blotchy, because we're going to be covering it up with some other stenciling and stamping for texture. So I do want to make sure that I'm going off the edge as well, otherwise I'll have sort of this colour in the middle and nothing on the edge. Okay, so that's probably enough. Now I'm going to come in with my stencil, and I've selected the Elvish stencil just because I think it's sort of whimsical and magical, and it matches in with the dragonflies quite well. And I'm going to come in with the Salty Ocean, but I only want it very light. And I don't want to have it everywhere. And I'm making sure that my stenciling doesn't go over the edge of the stencil, otherwise I'll get a big straight line. I'll move that down a bit so I can stencil off the edge here. So when I close that up, it's sort of giving me the illusion that the paper is also patterned on the inside there. Now to blend that in a little bit more, I'm just going to go in with a text stamp. And I'm just going to use my walnut stain oxide ink. And I'm not using a block because I don't want the stamping to be perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to sit that aside to dry and we'll move on to making the journaling cards for the inside. I'm going to cut the journaling cards out of this piece of profile orientated paper. So for these quick little journaling cards, I basically want to cut this page into three. I've got 3 dragonflies and I'd like to use 1 dragonfly on each journaling card for a focal point. So I just pop the page in my trimmer and eyeball where I think it's going to look the best. And then I just cut it down. So then I just need to fold my cards in half, and I like to use the edge of my scoreboard to help me with that. So that gives me 3 really simple double-sided journaling cards. So you can just glue them down, but I do like to stitch around mine. I just like the look of it a little bit more. However, before I stitch them down, I just want to make sure that my cards are going to fit nicely in my folio. So we need to bring the folio back in. Should be dry by now. And again, I'm going to use my scoreboard just to help me get the crease nice and straight. So now I've got my folio all nice and creased. I'm just going to glue these edges down, and I'm going to use some art glitter glue. So now I've got my little folio here with my pockets. I'm just going to make sure my journaling cards fit in here nicely before I stitch them. If they're a little bit too long, I could just trim them down now before I stitch them. But that looks like it's going to close just fine. So I'm going to take my cards off to the sewing machine and just stitch around the edges just because I like the way that it looks. But you can, of course, just glue them. There's no problem with that. Okay, so now I have my little journaling cards all stitched. So I've got the dragonfly images on one side and then the ticket sort of elements on the other side. And to finish off, I'm just going to go around the edges with some ink. So that's our little folio there, and our journaling cards can slot into the pocket. And fold up like that. So just a quick little easy project. These journaling cards are pretty on their own. I don't think they need to have any extra embellishing, but you can of course embellish it any way you like. Same with the folio. You can add some more embellishments if you prefer. So I do have some other ideas for this dragonfly paper. I love the fact that it's in both orientations. I will pop on and show those to you in the not too distant future, and I will leave links in the description box below to the products used in today's video. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you again next time. Bye!